Hello, everyone. It is me, Danielle J. Mitchell, your up and coming queen of real estate, and I'm here for another episode of Tuesday Tip and Two. All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. And thank you for joining me for today's and this week's Tuesday Tip and Two. It is me, Danielle J. Mitchell, your up and coming queen of real estate. And listen, we're talking about a topic. A lot of times I like to do kind of investing 101 Tuesday tips. So there are times where I cover investment properties and things of that nature. So I kind of want to give an investment property 101 episode today. And we are talking about rentals. Okay. We are talking about some tips on getting you started on getting a rental property, that it is an investment. All right. But as usual, you know what I'm going to tell you to do, guys. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Number one, I have to say, woo! Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate every single new subscriber. Make sure you hit all notifications each and every time you go to subscribe. And I need you to also I need you to comment, I need you to share, I need you to do all that good stuff, because the way the algorithm be algorithming, I need all the help I can get. I need all the help that I can get. If this is helping you in general, if you're appreciating the content, if it is helping you to understand real estate better, if it makes you feel more confident and move it in the direction of real estate, whether it's to buy, whether it's to sell, whether you want to become a realtor, whatever it looks like, I am in my comments. I do appreciate all the feedback. So let's get right on into it. We're going to talk about what to look for in a rental property, an investment rental property, and what to look for when you're trying to shop for an investment property that's a buy and hold or a rental property. I want to preface this by two things, and I'm going to expound on this more when I get to my number 2 tip. You might want a house hack, right? So, but you live in one unit and you rent out the other unit, okay? That's something that you'll do with a multifamily type property, which is one thing. Or you want to be a person who do not live in the property. That's another way that you can have a rental property. So let's get into number 1. Location. Isn't that what we say in real estate all the time? Location is so important. Really being able to kind of have your pulse on, and a realtor can come in handy for this. Where are people kind of migrating to? What kind of new construction is happening? What areas are being developed, or if there's a new hospital in the area, if there's a new stadium being built, if there is a new Amazon warehouse. There are so many things that happens in our economy that can directly affect what's going on as far as housing. So if there are things happening in your local area, you need to make sure that you're keeping your eye on it, right? Because guess what? If something is happening here, then people will probably want to move in over in this area, right? Especially depending on the price point. Maybe one area is saturated with a certain price point, and it's like, hey, maybe some people will start migrating to this area because they want to get something that's a bit more affordable. A great example in Philadelphia is the airport, right? So just really noticing what's going on around your neighborhood and seeing, hey, where can I get a return? If I invest here, can I get a decent return on my investment based on just the location alone? Location makes a huge difference. So you want to keep your eye on the up and coming areas. You want to keep your eye on what new developments are happening, what businesses are coming to your town. So then you can be like, hey, I think people might want to live in this area because it's close to transportation, a 10-minute train ride, and you're, where you need to be, all that good stuff. Definitely a realtor like myself will help you to determine what locations are good. Okay, what locations are good for you. Number two, down payment differences. So when we're talking about down payments, the reason why I talked about at the top of this what kind of rental landlord or investment property person are you going to be? You're going to be a house hacker. The great thing is that the down payment you can put down is the same as any residential acquisition, right? So if you're going to buy your house using a traditional mortgage, you can use that same traditional mortgage with up to, I believe it's up to a 4 unit that you can use a traditional mortgage. Why does that matter? It matters because you can put down the same 3.5% that an FHA would allow you to put down. You can put down 3% if you're a first-time home buyer using a conventional loan. Or if you're a second-time home buyer, you could put down that 5%, right? You could put down those lower down payments, and that means less money out of pocket in order for you to get started on your path to investment property. That means less money out of pocket for you in order to start on your path of acquiring some investment property to get that passive income in, right? Now, if you have your own house, all that good stuff, and it's just like, hey, I'm trying to get into investing, but I'm not going to live in that house. I'm not going to live in that property. So what will happen then, a lot of times, depending on what avenues you use, whether it's a traditional mortgage or traditional lender, or you might use a hard money lender, you may need to put down between 10% and 20%, depending again on who you use. So those down payments, depending on what kind of investor you are looking to be, whether it's a house hacking investor or just your traditional investor, that makes the difference. Number three, when considering rental property, you need to know the 1% rule. What does that mean? Okay, let's say you buy an investment property for $225,000. You put in $25,000 worth of renovations for a total of $250, all in at $250, right? You want to be pulling in at least 1% of what you used. So 1% of your all in, okay? Which will equate to $2,500 a month in rent. So some people use the 1% rule, some people use different calculations, but that is a model in which you can use. Number four, fixes and variable expenses. You have to make sure you can determine fixes and variable expenses. Now, some people, I do want to say this one thing in regards to rentals. Some people will buy a property, a shell, distressed property, fix it up, like take everything down to the studs, not everything down except for the walls surrounding it, and reframe, build it up. Is pretty much as good as almost as good as new construction. Some investors like to do that because guess what? They're controlling everything that's in that property, right? So they know when the water heater is going to go out, they have a warranty on it, the HVAC system, they know what's behind the walls, they know everything that's going on. So it's really no surprises, right? And of course, things can happen with something that's new, but for the most part, you can have a bit more security when you build it yourself, build it from the ground up, as opposed to getting something and doing some changes and fixes, but you don't know what's going on behind that wall. You know just enough, right? So I do want to add that sometimes people just like to do almost new construction. So you want to consider a lot of times putting away the income that you're going to get from that property, and you want to put it at least that first year. You don't want to touch that money. You want to keep it in there so that you can factor in all the expenses that may come up with the property, right? Which include any fixes, any maintenance, and things like that. You're going to have those property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, the property management if you choose not to manage it yourself, any HOA fees if applicable, and like I said before, cleaning costs, landscaping costs, depending on how you set up your lease and what you want to take care of and everything like that. You want to know what your expenses are going to be. And we have number 5. Now, I just mentioned property management, but we're going to give it its own its own tip in order to consider. Listen, a lot of times what you'll get for a property manager or property management company, you'll have to pay usually between 10 to 12% of whatever the rental income is. And they handle everything, right? So they handle, depending on how involved you want your property management company to be, they're going to be responsible for making sure any fixes are scheduled. If somebody needs to get into a property to fix something, they're going to be the liaison between yourself and the tenant, making sure they collect the rent, and just pretty much being that third party that are addressing any issues that the tenant may have or that may come up. Okay. Using a property management company can be very beneficial if you're one who's not trying to really be hands-on, but just want to have that extra money come in. It may be a good investment for you to consider. And we have number 6. Listen, know the risks. Know the risks, right? Some of the most significant risks you need to keep in mind is that you may not have the rental interest that you anticipate, right? You could end up having upfront expensive repairs. Property taxes could definitely go up. There are parts in Philadelphia where the property taxes were one thing 1 second, and then because of people flooding to a certain areas and developing that certain area, it pretty much doubled, right, the next year. So just always keep that in mind. That's why you always want to make sure you're collecting your rental income and keeping some reserves, right? So that when these things changes, you don't have to feel, jolted in regards to them, okay? The local market economy can change, and you can have bad tenants, right? Which could cost you some money, okay? Well, that is all for today's and this week's Tuesday Tip at 2. I hope that helps you. I hope that helps you. And listen, if you're interested in being a landlord, or if you're interested in buying or selling, you know what I need you to do. I need you to go down here to book.djmrealtyco.com. Again, book.djmrealtyco.com and schedule your free consultation. If you are a seller, I can absolutely come out and give you a free CMA or comparative market analysis, just letting you know what your house is worth before we put it on the market. Remember, there's no place like home, no place like home buying. And I'll see you next time. We're going to be talking about flipping next week. All right. So stay tuned. Bye. Keep the ball rolling and get into number 3. Now